So I'm going to repeat the Carnival of the Animals. The previous video, the sound did not work. So in this assignment is to write down all the rhythm notes, but also we're going to talk about the dynamic and the tempo here. So on the very first movement, that is the introduction and the Lion's Royal March by Camilo Sansón, the Carnival of the Animals. So we have this whole note and we have these 4 lengthened lines, which means that you're going to play this one abbreviation for you to play as a 30-second notes. Start to play 1, it's the whole, so you play 30-second notes. So write whole note, but it's whole note, and a whole rest, and so on. This is the group of 3 quarter notes and 1 quarter rest. For all those here. Half a rest, so write down half a rest. I do not write, but you write. Whole note, etc., etc. Here's a group of 3/8 note and 1/8 rest. 3/8 note, 1/8 rest. So you write that 3/8 notes, 1/8 rest, and so on. 1/8 note, 1/8 rest, 1 quarter rest. 1/8 note, 1/8 rest. Whole rest. This is 1/8 note, 1/8 rest, 1 quarter note, 1/2 rest. 8th note, 8th rest, quarter rest, and half rest with the fermata. Okay. The Art of Playing Piano by Muzio Clemente, you can find on the preface. At the end of the preface, you can find all this information. This is fortissimo. And here was whole rest, half a rest, quarter rest, 8th note, 2/16, quarter note, 8th note, 2/16, quarter note, 8th note, 2/16. And the quarter note with the accent. Quarter note. So whole rest. Tempo, più allegro. This tie here is a legato, is not to add to the tempo of the previous note. To add to the tempo, they need to be in the same pitch. So A3 will be A3. And this has one accent on the dotted quarter note. This is a bow. This is up bow on the whole note. Whole note is up bow, etc. This is a triplet. Quarter note, triplet, quarter note, triplet, quarter note, triplet, quarter note, and so on. 8th note, 2/16, 8th notes. Whole rest, etc. So from the page 1 until page 7, that's the assignment. Okay, because after, as was until. Now, one of the questions is how many different pitch notes plays the clarinet? Let's find out here. Let me go fast and show. The cuckoo in the deep woods. So ta 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 ta. The written note is D B flat, D5 B flat 4, but we'll sound that concert pitch is C A flat. 1 2 1 2. So the clarinet plays only 2 different pitch notes on this movement. So in eighth notes, and at the end is in quarter note. Da, 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 da. Okay. Another question is on the kangaroo. Go back. What's the name of this note here? This is the accaciatura. Accaciatura. The name of this little note, let me zoom here. This note here is accaciatura, accaciatura. If it did not have this slanted line, it would be appoggiatura, but it's accaciatura with this dash. Now let's listen for me. Let's listen.
Nearly 100 years ago, a French composer named Saint-Saëns wrote a wonderfully witty musical fantasy called The Carnival of the Animals. His music describes many of the animals in this zoo. That's why we're here. So join me along with the whimsical verse of Ogden Nash, the Mormon Youth Symphony, and a whole zoo full of animals for the Carnival of the Animals.
The Carnival of the Animals, starring Gary Berghoff, featuring the music of Camille Saint-Saëns, the verse of Ogden Nash, and the Mormon Youth Symphony.
Camille Saint-Saëns was racked with pains when people addressed him as Saint Saëns. He held the human race to blame because it could not pronounce his name. So he turned with metronome and fife to glorify other forms of life. Be quiet, please, for here begins his salute to feathers, fur, and fins. The lion is the king of beasts and husband of the lioness. Gazelles and things on which he feasts address him as Your Highness. There are those who admire that roar of his in the African jungles and veldts. But I think wherever the lion is, I'd rather be somewhere else. The rooster is a roistering hoodlum. His battle cry is cock-a-doodlum. Hands in pockets, cap over eye, he whistles at pullets passing by. Have you ever harked to the jackass wild, which scientists call the onager? It sounds like the laugh of an child or a hepcat on a harmonica. But do not sneer at the jackass wild. There's a method to his hee-haw. For with maidenly blush and accent mild, the answers she-haw. Come crown my brow with leaves of myrtle. I know the tortoise is a turtle. Come carve my name in stone immortal. I know the tortoise is a turtle. I know to my profound despair, I bet on one to beat a hare. I also know I'm now a pauper because of his turtly torpor. Elephants are useful friends, equipped with handles at both ends. They have a wrinkled, moth-proof hide. Their teeth are upside down outside. If you think the elephant preposterous, you've probably never seen a rhinoceros. can jump incredible. He has to jump because he's edible. I could not eat a kangaroo, but many fine Australians do. Those with cookbooks as well as boomerangs prefer him in tasty kangaroo meringues.
Howie. What without barking?
Some fish are minnows, some are whales.
Something what without
People
barking?
like
Go.
dimples, fish like scales. Some fish are slim, some are round. They don't get cold, they don't get drowned. But every fishwife fears for her fish. What we call mermaids, they call merfish. In the world of mules, there are no rules. Cuckoos live bohemian lives. They fail as husbands and as wives. Therefore, they cynically disparage everybody else's marriage. Puccini was Latin and Wagner Teutonic, and birds are incurably Philharmonic. Suburban yards and rural vistas are filled with avian Andrew sisters. The skylark sings a roundelay, the crow sings the road to Mandalay, the nightingale sings a lullaby, and the seagull sings a gulliby. That's what shepherds listened to in Arcadia before someone invented the radio. Well, hello there. Some claim that pianists are human and quote the case of Mr. Truman. Saint-Saëns, upon the other hand, considered them a scurvy band. Ape-like they are, he said, and simian, instead of normal men and women.
At midnight in the museum hall, the fossils gathered for a ball. There were no drums or saxophones, but just the clatter of their bones. A rolling, rattling, carefree circus of mammoth polkas and mazurkas. Pterodactyls and brontosauruses sang ghostly prehistoric choruses. Amid the mastodonic wassail, I caught the eye of one small fossil. "Cheer up, sad world," he said, and winked. "It's kind of fun to be extinct."
Un poquito quello di Statin. Rossini, Una voce poco fa. Yesenia or the swan.
The swan can swim while sitting down. For pure conceit he takes the crown. He looks in the mirror over and over and claims to have never heard of Pavlova. Now we reach the grand finale, Animale Carnivale. Noises new to sea and land issue from a skillful band. All the strings contort their features, imitating crawly creatures. All the brasses look like mumps from blowing oompa, oompa, umps. In outdoing Barnum and Bailey and Ringling, Sanson has done a miraculous thingling.
I appreciate the youth Symphony of Utah Symphony for this beautiful video.